Good evening, students. Welcome to Dr. Dr. Kalam IAS Academy. This is Raghu with you. We are continuing our discussion on
Good evening,
NCRT.
sir.
So we are continuing the discussion in this regard. As I told, social and political life is very important. This is important from many angles. Dear students, not only from the prim's point of view, it is important even from the mains point of view. As you can see here, see this is the one of the key slides which I will be presenting you often. This is the slide which shows the marks of the first ranker of 2019. Here, essay governance things complete, including international relations, security, disaster management, ethics things will be covered to you. So please do pay attention. As I told you, as exclusively mentioned in the ethics paper, they have been asking questions with respect to the things which are happening in the society. Chapter number second, diversity and discrimination. We have some portions left. We'll be completing that, and afterwards we'll be starting with the government section. What is government? I have asked you to by heart internalize the first page of the Constitution. Can anyone recite me or can anyone reproduce the preamble? Dear students, if you have not done, please do it because nearly 10 questions have come from this first page in the preliminary examination. I once again, at least by Monday, every student have to internalize because this is the constitution in gist, right? Okay, just let's in 5 minutes let me just brief the things what we have discussed yesterday. How we live, the language we use, what we eat, speak, game, all these things make up what we are. And in NCRT, they have mentioned that in India, all the 8 major religions of the world are present, and there are more than 1600 languages, and also more than 100 dance forms. This diversity is not celebrated. The main reason is we feel we feel safe and secure with the people who are alike. Very important thing, prejudice. Prejudice means to judge the other people negatively or to see them inferior. Means to look upon someone down or with negativity. Why we have got prejudice? This happens when you think that one particular way is the best and the right thing. So very important, please concentrate. Prejudice is coming in the way of equality, coming in the way of unity. This happens because you think that there is one best way or the right way. Here, my dear students, because of prejudice, you may hurt someone. Not only that, you won't be mingling with others. The other type which comes in the way of unity is the stereotype. Stereotype means a generalization. When we fix people with one image, we create stereotype. We have explained that like villagers are like ignorant, innocent, something like that. Boys are like that. We took this exercise. So this is a bad thing. And what are the negative implications of stereotype? Stereotype not only makes you from understanding the individuals as a unique, it also comes in a way of preventing you from doing certain things. So you shouldn't be having stereotypes. We have studied the things related to the stereotype with respect to education of the girl children, especially in women in Muslim community. we took up the example where in Kerala you have got like the distance between the school and the home, the bus services, the teachers proportion, and the ratio of female teachers. All this makes Kerala has one of the leading state with respect to literacy. Not only that, stereotype we have with respect to persons with special needs. So, dear students, please use the term children with special needs. Discrimination happens when people act on their prejudice and stereotypes. Very important. Discrimination happens when people act on their prejudice and stereotypes. Diversity can also be a source of discrimination. Say, for example, if there is rich and poor, this we cannot call as diversity. And this is a form of inequality. Dalits want to be called themselves with the term Dalit because, according to them, that shows how society prejudice and discrimination have broken the Dalit people. Government refers to these people as SCs. Then we have discussed like how ethnocentrism leads to disunity. Ethnocentrism means when you use your culture as a center and evaluate other cultures based on your culture. On the other hand, cultural relativism refers to not judging a culture to your own standards of what is right and wrong. Instead, we should try to understand the cultural practices of other groups in its own cultural context. And along with that, we have discussed tolerance and empathy. I'll be pouring a little more light with respect to tolerance and empathy and compassion today. To bring unity in diversity, my dear students, along with these things, there is a need of equality, which we will be discussing in depth. Respect for diversity should be there. And also, there should be freedom to follow a religion, race, caste, anything of their choice, work, everything. So, we can have unity in diversity only when there is equality, when there is respect for diversity, when there's freedom to all to follow whatever they want. The students striving for equality, this is the thing which was striving for equality. Here, very important aspect is dominance is a character of all the animals. Not only animals, even it is a characteristic of plants or anything which is living. Dominance is nature. By nature, it is an animal instinct. Survival of the fittest. So every individual, even the plant, they want to dominate. Say, for example, there is a plant here. It wants to dominate and suppress the plants which are growing down. But here, man is also an animal, but he's forgetting that man is a social animal. In social animal, man is not acting as an individual. He is acting as a member of the society. Right? So there is a striving for equality. Equality is a value which doesn't come on its own. Because by nature, all animals, all individuals want to dominate because they want to survive. But this thought is a very derogatory thing because man is not just an animal like other animals. He's a social being. Man is living in a society. So man can prosper better only when he sees others equal, when he is acting with unison, when he is coming together, when the people come together, when they join hands. This is one of the most important aspect in this. NCERT states that the struggle for freedom, very important, please internalize this one. The struggle for freedom from British rule also included within it the struggle of large groups of people who not only fought against the British but also fought to be treated as more equal. Dalits, women, tribes, and peasants fought against the inequalities they experienced in their life. Dear students, in fact, Indians were fortunate because they were ruled, they were colonized by the people who were themselves ruled by democracy. You can imagine a situation, say for example, we were ruled by Britishers. So in the present context, you can think that, say for example, India has acquired Sri Lanka or Pakistan. So this was the scenario. In Britain, there was democracy. So somehow we were fortunate. If we were under the powers like Germany, Italy, or even for that matter, Japan, don't think that Japan is a very soft country. No, it has become after Second World War. Before that, it was very, very aggressive. So during freedom struggle, though spontaneously there was a struggle against the British and against some of the discriminations which were happening in that Dalit, women, tribes, and peasants. How did this happen? And what were the things happening there? Many Dalits organized themselves to gain entry to temple. Very important. Please internalize. See, Dalit with respect to examples are important because in a generalized way you can write. So Dalit with respect to temples. Women demanded that they should have as much right to education as the men did. See, you can see here women are educating, women are like on demonstration, or they're demanding for equality. On the other hand, peasants and tribes fought to release themselves from the grasp or the clutches of the money lender and high interest they were charged. Dalits temples, women with respect to right to education, peasants and tribes with respect to coming out of the grasp of the money lenders. Yes, students, when India became a nation in 1947, our leaders too were concerned about the different kinds of inequality that existed. See, whenever you are writing something with respect to constitution or anything, this line becomes very, very important. The makers of constitutions were aware that there are inequalities present in India. And for this purpose, what they have done, dear students, those who wrote the Constitution of India, here they have mentioned
Yes, sir.
one brief thing for Constitution also. Constitution of India, a document that laid out the rules by which a nation would function. So one of the definition for Constitution, you can take that as a document which lays down rules by which a nation will function. This may be asked in your preliminary examination. The same, UPSC is picking lines from the NCERT. So it has defined, NCERT has like not defined, it has said that Constitution has a document that lays down the rules by which a nation will be ruled. Were aware of the ways in which discrimination had been practiced in our society and how people had struggled against that. Not only that, many great leaders have also suffered and they have fought against these things. The classical example, the well-known example is our great Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dear students, some of these leaders set out a vision and goal in the constitution to ensure that all the people of India were considered equal. Please concentrate here. This equality of all persons is seen as a key value that unites us as Indians. So what is the another important thing to bring unity? See here, we are come. This may appear very simple for you. We have already used many concepts to bring about unity in diversity. Now we are into the concept which says that equality is a very, very important thing. If there is no equality, we cannot think of unity. Equality for all person is seen as a key value that unites us all as Indians. Every one of us has equal right and opportunity. Untouchability is seen as a crime and has been legally abolished. Here, one point, my dear students, never ever even justify untouchability, because justifying anything like untouchability, justifying anything like dowry system is also a crime. Then people are free to choose the kind of work they wish to do. Government jobs are open to all. In addition, Constitution also places a responsibility on the government to take specific steps to realize this right to equality for poor and other such marginalized communities. Here, key takeaways from this slide is equality is one of the most important things to assure unity. Not only that, Constitution has placed responsibility on the government. So government has the responsibility to see that there is equality in the society, right? Moving forward, the writers of Constitution also said that respect for diversity has a significant element in ensuring equality. See, please connect the dots here. Unity, for unity, there is a need of equality. For equality, there is a need of respecting diversity. So, if you are not respecting diversity, it is not possible to have equality. If you don't have equality, it is not possible to have unity. It will be difficult, at least. They felt that people must have freedom to follow their religion, speak their language, celebrate their festivals, and express themselves freely. They said that no one language, religion, or festival should become compulsory for all to follow. And also, one more important thing, my dear students, in the Constitution, nowhere there is a compulsion or there is mandatory thing for you to sing national anthem or the national song. This is one UPSC preliminary questions. There is no compulsion for you to sing national song or national anthem. So previously I too had a different things. In fact, this was told by Lakshmikant, my teacher. So in fact, it is true. Nowhere in the Constitution it says that this is compulsory for you to sing the song, national song or anthem. They said that government must treat all religions equally. Here, a very important thing, say for example, if you go to some countries, Western countries like France, where they cherish secularism in a very different way. There, religion is entirely out of scene from politics. Means, as though there is no religion. Means they won't consider the elements of the religion at all. If you go to France, there won't be things like which in many of the cases you won't be having the place where you have to fill with respect to religion, caste, all these things, because those things are not at all considered there. But in our case, we have got a positive version where government must treat all religions equally. I repeat, the Western concept of secularism. In this, the concept of religion is not at all present in politics or in government. There, it won't be like government must treat all religions equally. No, government is not concerned with religion at all. They are not taking this, say for example, in slang, it is out of syllabus. But when it comes to the Indian context, government must treat all religions equally. Therefore, India became a secular country where people of different religions and faiths have the freedom to participate and follow their religion without any fear of discrimination. This is seen as an important element of our unity, that we all live together and respect one another. So here, freedom of religion is very, very important for secularism, for equality, for unity and integrity. So if you don't have the freedom of religion, once again, you cannot have unity. And all these things, what NCRT is speaking of, is directly relating to the fundamental rights which are enshrined in the Constitution. I will explain them later. Though these ideas are enshrined in our Constitution, inequality exists even today. And the next line is very important. Equality is a value that we have to keep striving for and not something which will happen automatically. I repeat, that's the reason why I've underlined. This is a very, very important thing. My dear students, here, not only equality, the things, say for example, liberty, all these things, for them, you can use this thing. So equality is a value that we have to strive for. It won't come automatically. It won't have come automatically. Why? I have already given the hint and I have explained. Everybody want to survive. Survival of the fittest. An animal want to dominate the another. Say, like one of my friend was often saying that, like in some movies, he used to put that in Telugu. నిన్ను తొక్కలేదంటే నేను ఎలా పైకి వస్తాను? Means if I won't suppress you, how would I come up? So that, no, don't write this kind of thing, just to make the concept understand. So equality is not that everybody will give. In family, a elder brother want to dominate the younger. Parents want to dominate the children. So dominance is one of the characteristic of survival of the animals and plants. But this is a very, very like a narrow aspect when it comes to humanity, when it comes to we humans, because we live in society, we have prospered, humans are dominating the earth because we got united. We as a force, take for example, you take any animal, physically we are like very weak compared to most of the animals physically. But we are able to dominate, domesticate, and we have that ability. One of the main reason is we came together, we united. Say for example, 10 people, they come together and they hunt an elephant. So we are not just animals, we are little more than that animals. So we are, another important thing is we are living in society. Society can prosper only when we treat others equally and also when we respect others. Very important. Equality is a value that we have to keep striving for. Nobody will give you like equality. Come, you and me are equal. No, Britishers never treated. We strive for. It is not that which something which happens automatically. People's struggles and positive actions by government are necessary to make this a reality for all Indians. So equality doesn't come naturally. For this, people's struggle is important, number one. And at the same time, positive actions by the government are necessary. So relating this to unity in diversity. So we have to have equality for unity, but equality is a value which won't come automatically. We have to strive for that. And also, positive actions are required by the government to make this into reality. Next, here, very important thing, classification of the fundamental rights by the Constitution. See, this is a very important thing. Many students won't be knowing that Constitution itself has classified the fundamental rights. I repeat, Constitution itself has classified the fundamental rights into six. Previously, it was seven. With respect to equality, with respect to freedom, against exploitation, religious things, cultural and educational things, and right to property that has been eliminated or omitted by 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978. It is made a legal right under Article 300A under Part 22. This is important, and constitutional remedies. See, dear students, these are the important things which are needed to bring about unity. Equality. Here, everything given with respect to equality you have to write. Don't mix up. UPSC is asking, especially in prelims, directly with respect to these concepts. Don't mix up the elements given with respect to equality with freedom. They are almost like overlapping things are there, but you have to be very careful. Against exploitation, discrimination, we have discussed. Religious, cultural, and educational things, this with respect to freedom, with respect to respecting their uniqueness. Moving forward in the same lines, dear students, number one, right to equality. All the things which you come across from Article 14 to 18 are related to equality. They all, this may appear very easy for you, but students are often making mistakes. The right to freedom, they are confusing with equality. Any question in mains, if it comes with respect to equality, the main important ingredients what you have to write is the things which are present in from Article 14 to 18. I repeat, right to equality. If there is any concept with respect to any of the things, you have to inevitably mention all the things present in these articles. With respect to freedom, 19 to 22. When it comes to against exploitation, discrimination, then 23 and 24. Related to religion, 25 to 28. Appreciating others' culture and things related that. So cultural and educational rights. These are the things which you have to write. Moving forward, how equality is brought. If there is any question like that, or how you will bring equality in the society, or what are the measures taken in the constitution, provisions in the constitution, you have to write all these things. Equality before law and equal protection of law, prohibition of the discrimination 15, equality of opportunity in employment, abolition of the untouchability, and abolition of the titles. Even the titles, they have abolished. So here, you have to be very specific when it comes to these things. What I found is they're confusing the things which are given in equality to freedom. UPSC has already asked the questions related to, say, abolition of untouchability. Is it related to equality or freedom or against discrimination? So there are like they're closely related. But when Constitution itself has divided the fundamental rights, classified the fundamental rights, and it has put these things under the banner, you have to be specific in these things, especially in preliminary examination. So equality with respect to law, with respect to prohibition of discrimination, with respect to equality of opportunity in education, employment, abolition of the untouchability, and even titles. You can't have titles like Raja, Maharaja, even though you may be like maybe grandson of someone. who was a king. So these are some of the things which are enshrined in the constitution, which will which are done with the intention of bringing equality. Why equality? Why? What is the main thing? Why we need equality? Equality is the bedrock, very important thing to bring about unity. India is a diverse country. So in this diversity, if we don't have equality, it is very, very difficult to have unity. Can you think of unity if we don't have equality? One person is having the like is given the right to do whatever he want. There is a lot of discrimination. There is opportunities are varied. There is untouchability, things like that. Many things are there. Can we think of equality? No. When there is no equality, can we think of unity? Not at all possible. So, my dear students, here you correlate equality to unity. That is the take home from these things. Next, once again, very important in your examination, in all this respect, anything comes within these articles, you have to be very carefully using equality for the equality things, freedom for the freedom things, right against exploitation for these things, and so on and so forth. Moving forward, little more with respect to empathy. Empathy is also a very important component to achieve unity. What is empathy? As I've explained, it is to step into the shoes of others, to look into the world through the lens of others. Empathy, look at the world through the eyes of others. Means they mean the same. Means here the concept is, say for example, a person is not having eyes, blind. You put yourself in his shoes. It's not like sympathy. Sympathy means how see, oh, that person is not having eyes. Just it's a pity. In case of empathy, you are putting yourself in other shoes. Say, for example, a person, a Dalit, is being discriminated. You put yourself in his shoes. He can't enter any temple. Wherever he goes, like he feels very shy. Somebody says, "Hey, you Dalit, you go that side." How does he feel? Or somebody, like even without telling, when that person comes, if they move away from him, how does he feel? If you have to put yourself in his shoes. Maybe say for example, a Dalit is living in a city, a town. Will he be very free? And will he be without like thinking and thought that I can go to others' house freely? It is not village. No, they still have that mindset. What if they say? How will they think? Means here you are putting yourself in others' place and you are thinking, what are their problems? Anything. Say, for example, you may sometimes blame your parents. They're not giving me bike, they're not giving me money. You put yourself in their shoes. Say, for example, they're 50, 60 years old. They will be insecure. Their health won't be good. You take things for granted. A person with, say, for example, a person with sugar, BP, or any of the things, how they might be feeling. A person with cancer, you think you have got like only 3 4 days to live. If it is like fixed 3 4 days, it is a different thing. You don't know how long you will live. It requires lakhs of rupees. How does this feel? My dear students, it is very, very important you be empathetic, especially for you with respect to your partners or your parents, your brothers, or anyone. You put yourself in your parents' shoes, in your teacher's shoes. Then you see how it appears. Then you will really understand. Then only it is possible for you to appreciate the things. Next, to understand and experience others' viewpoint, feelings, and problems and aspirations. You never do that. Say, for example, there's a boy. He won't be empathetic towards girls. Means what? He won't put himself in the shoes, in the place of a girl. What are the problems they face? What is their viewpoint? What is their feelings? What is their problem? What is their aspiration? Especially, my dear students, you are all still youth. You are like at least like around or below 30 years or about 20 years. You are in the very very good phase of your life. Aging and senescence has not yet started in you. By the day one, when we are in the womb, the zygote stage, the weights to start accumulating in our body. As we grow on till 30, 40, some of that waste is tolerated. After you go to 40, 50, 60, all the negative repercussions will be shown. That is the reason why they say youth have that power. Any freedom struggle you take, youth were the main reason for that. Why going too far? Take about the Telangana movement. I was there at the Hyderabad hotspot. It was the youth. You youths have that energy, but don't take the things for granted. You put yourself in the shoes of those who are in trouble. Then only you will understand the things. Why we should have empathy? Dear students, as a civil servant, you are dealing with people. You're not dealing with machines. When you are dealing with people, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the people. Then only you will understand what are their problems. When you understand what are the problems, you can solve them. Say, for example, there is one community which thinks that if pregnant women, if they eat boiled egg, the children who are born will be bald. Means they won't be having hairs. If that is the thing which they believe, and if you give eggs to them, what they will do? They will throw off those eggs. So you have to put yourself in their shoes. You have to understand what they think. As a civil servant, when you do that, then only you can come up with the right solution. And not only civil service, in every aspect, you have to be empathetic. And civil servant should be responsive to the people. They have to give voice to the people. They have to be responsible to the needs of the people. Responsible and responsive means you have to give what they want, not what you think is good for them. If people ask something, you have to give that, not what you think is better for them. Say, for example, for tribal people, they have different, their worldview is different. Those who live in forest, the whole thing is thems, but they never try to make clear that one and put a fence because they never have the idea of future. So, my dear students, the needs, necessities of the tribal people will be different. You have to be responsive to their needs. You cannot say that you tribes, you please learn English. No, what they want, they are good in some art. So encourage them. So to be responsive, you have to be empathetic. If you won't understand what are their needs, how can you be responsive? And also efficient and effective. When you understand what people want, how their viewpoint, then only the things what you do will be efficient and effective. Next, helps to develop tolerance and compassion. A very important thing. Tolerance, you will be having the tolerance when you come to know why they are doing that. Some people, they're not eating non-veg. Some people, they're eating non-veg. In that, they're eating something. Say, for example, a Dalit may be eating cow. Why he is eating? The other person may not be eating. Why he is not eating? Just because a Dalit is eating cow, it doesn't mean that you have to see him with inferiority. What are the reasons why he is eating? If you come to know that, you can have tolerance. Compassion means a virtue above that, means doing something to overcome the pain, agony, to ameliorate the difficulties. This can happen only when you are empathetic. Moving forward, compassion. Here, compassion, as I told you, has a very important three component, means it is having the feeling component also, it is having the cognitive component also, because you can be compassionate only when you understand what other people are feeling and why. And it will be having behavioral component also, that is commitment to try to do something about the problem or to ameliorate the distress which they have. In case of sympathy, you have got just feelings. In case of empathy, you have got feelings. Along with that, you have got cognition. You have got knowledge, because you have put yourself in other shoes. You have seen the world through the lens of the people who are in trouble. Right? Next, compassion. Compassion is equal to empathy plus commitment to ameliorate the distress. I'm giving the things in a very, very simple way. And also, point to be noted here, these are the points which are of direct relevance in your ethics paper and also in your interview and essay. My dear students, as I've already shown you, all like all the two sections, means 8 questions in the ethics, in the essay paper were related to philosophy this time. If these concepts and things are not clear to you, see, I have already shown you in history, geography, all these things, their proportion in mains examination is only 70 marks, whereas your essay is for 250 marks. And also in essay, you can get like nearly 150 marks. But in these papers, getting 50% is very, very difficult. Out of 250, you'll be getting nearly 100. You have to be very, very cautious, and you have to make the things in such a way that you reproduce these things. Compassion is equal to empathy and commitment to ameliorate the distress. Why compassion? Because weaker sections will be in distress condition. Means there is a element of helplessness. You may ask me, say, why should be compassionate to the people weaker sections? Because they are in distress. They are in a helpless situation. Say, for example, a person who is undergone like sexual harassment or anything of that sort, domestic violence, they are in distress condition. They have an element of helplessness. Say, for example, people with special needs, they are in a little helpless condition. So you have to be compassionate. Next, it's a duty of a civil servant. Since you are preparing for civil service examination and you want to be a civil servant, you have to be compassionate, because it is your duty. You are the servant of the people. You are not the master. Dear students, at this point, I would like to put a point here. When you get service, definitely you will have everything with respect to money, power, and so on and so forth, what you have thought, but you won't be having time. If you are thinking of enjoying life with money, power, all these things with civil service, dear students, you'll be in a very, very wrong place. You'll be having all the things, but you won't be having time, my dear students. Say, for example, this corona pandemic, it is the civil servants who are working more than 15 hours per day. Do you know that? More than 15 hours per day. The entire responsibility of a district is on the collector. Collector phones never switch off. They won't keep the phone in silent mode. They don't know when people will call. They don't know when MLA, MP, or their senior will call, or their junior will call for help. Dear students, if you have the opinion or the attitude of serving the people, please do join. If you think that I'll become IAS and I will become an IPS officer and I will have all the luxury, all the enjoyment in life, not possible. Not at all possible. The major thing is uh, not the resources. You'll be having everything. One of my friend who was in IPS, he was saying, "See, Raghu, the whole district is under me. I can do anything, everything. All the commercial related kind of things are under me, but I can't do anything. It's a very, very stressful condition. You'll be having power. If you like, if there is someone who is doing something wrong or anything, you can beat him, things like that. But if you don't have the mind of serving the people, it is a very bad option if you are choosing. Because you'll be having everything, you won't be having time, you can't enjoy. Please, if you don't have, please develop the mindset of serving people. Serving people gives a lot of pleasure that you cannot explain. Vast majority are ignorant and illiterate, so you have to be compassionate, and serving others provide a great joy. Say if someone says, someone comes and says, "Sir, because of you, my life is saved. Sir, because of you, I got IAS." Or someone in your thing, "See, on that day you told me that advice, because of that, my life was saved." So it provides a great joy. So compassion has some intrinsic values too. Next is tolerance. Tolerance is a very, very important thing. Tolerance, the basic bedrock for tolerance is being empathetic. If you don't know why other people are doing, why they are doing, how, what is the basis for all these things, then you won't be having tolerance. Say, for example, if you start considering all the people who are worshipping, say, for example, I am from a monotheistic religion. I'm from a monotheistic religion. According to me, only God A. A is the only God. All other things are devils for me. Then can I have tolerance for those things? I feel like I get angry thinking that I am the only person who is knowing the correct thing. I am the only person who is praying the correct God. He's praying some devils, useless things. So you won't be tolerant. You will be intolerant. Tolerant is possible only when you have got empathy. When a tribe says that I have got fear because some ghosts have attacked me, I am getting fear because some person has done some magic, black magic on me. So I have to ask like Shastram. So you may get angry. See how ignorant all these people. But when you become empathetic, when you put yourself in his shoes, you will understand and you'll come up with the right solution for this. Tolerance is a very, very important value which you have to develop. Here, I have already explained you. One of the important thing is ethnocentrism. In this very simple word, please concentrate. Ethnocentrism means evaluating other culture based on your own culture, your own values and standards of one's own culture. Means whenever you are evaluating anything based on your culture, your societal things, then it is ethnocentrism. Say, for example, I am from America or Europe. When I see someone like wearing lungi, if I say that they're like uncivilized, or if I say something derogatory, that's not correct. And that is because of ethnocentrism. This happens in ethnocentrism. Main thing is you believe that one's own culture is superior. So In ethnocentrism, you are judging, you are guiding, you are saying something is right and wrong based on what you believe has right and wrong based on your culture. But when the same thing, others may think in a different way. And another addition to this thing is believing that one's own culture is superior. If you think like that, definitely there will be clash, there won't be tolerance. When you think that your own thing is superior, your own thing is correct. Say, for example, you are eating rice. You feel that eating rice is the best thing. Then you start criticizing the people who eat wheat. Every respect. You won't be appreciating the things. You won't be appreciating the diversity if you are ethnocentric. So you should not have ethnocentrism, but you should have what is known as cultural relativism. What is cultural relativism? Cultural relativism, to understand the cultural practices, to understanding the things, what a person is doing. Cultural relativism is to understand the cultural practices of other groups in their own cultural context. Say, for example, Chenchu, they are practicing something. Malars, they are practicing something. Andaman Islanders, they are doing something. When you understand these cultural practices in their own cultural settings, then you will be appreciating the diversity. So cultural relativism is one of the most important thing needed for you to have unity in diversity. And this is the basis for even tolerance. What is tolerance? Tolerance is harmony in difference. A very simple but most authenticated definition. Tolerance is harmony in difference. Tolerance is respect, acceptance, appreciation of the rich diversity. Tolerance is respect for diversity, acceptance for diversity, appreciation of diversity. Whatever, say for example, Hindu, Muslim, Parsi, Isai, when you respect them, when you accept them, when you appreciate them, then it is tolerance. And it is what makes us human. Dear students, the whole thing, what is ethical? It revolves around a very two important things. That is humanity. It all revolves around two things. One is ethics, revolves around two things. One is humanity. There is nothing more or there is no great virtue than humanity. Nothing, even your religion, caste, anything. There is only one virtue which you have to consider, that is your humanity. Second thing is reason. Reason, logic. Don't you simply following the orthodox things. Following the things blindly is not that logical. So whenever you are making the decisions logically, or whenever you are taking humanity as the basis, whenever you are respecting humanity, then tolerance definitely will come. So, my dear students, what is tolerance? Tolerance is harmony in difference. Tolerance is respect, acceptance, and appreciation of the diversity. Tolerance is what makes us human. Then you may ask me, like, how can we develop tolerance? We can develop tolerance by many ways. And you may ask me then, like before that, let me tell you, why tolerance? The very subject of our study, that is diversity. India is the land of diversity with subcontinental proportions. Everywhere you take, and I told you diversity with respect to each and every aspect. From morning when you wake up till you sleep, from the length and breadth of the country, whatever they wear, whatever they eat, everything, there is very, very rich diversity. So if you want to be in harmony, if you want to have unity, then you have to have tolerance. So tolerance brings unity in diversity. Each individual or culture is unique. So you cannot think like one is superior or one is inferior. So there is a need of tolerance. Why we need tolerance? Because of the vast diversity, the uniqueness what we have as individuals or as cultures. Allow individuality and diversity while promoting peace and a society. So tolerance is needed to allow us to develop, to evolve the individuality, diversity, at the same time promoting peace in the society. So this is like some of the important things from some standard books, but it is not the end. You can add upon to these things. So here you please interconnect and also have a firm idea of the things. Don't be in confusion. Like we have used the terms, like many important, very, very important terms we have used. So that is the reason why I'm going very slow. The next chapter we can go very fast. Stereotypes we have used, prejudice we have used, diversity we have used, tolerance, we have used equality, we have used appreciation of the differences. We have seen how freedom is needed. We have seen with respect to equality, why we have to strive for equality. We have seen ethnocentrism, cultural relativism, sympathy, empathy, compassion. We are dealing with tolerance. And dear students, very important, all the things which are present in your fundamental rights are very, very important to bring about unity in diversity. That you have to mention in your answers. How tolerance? How can we have tolerance? By knowledge. We can have tolerance by knowledge. So one of the important thing when it comes to societal things, how knowledge? We can have the knowledge when you are empathetic about society and other things. If you are ignorant, it is difficult for you to have tolerance. When you have tolerance, when you are using logic, when you are using reason, you will be having tolerance towards that. You won't be arrogant. When only ignorant people are more arrogant, not the knowledgeable people. When it comes to societal things, when it comes to human relation things, we can have knowledge through empathy. When I understand you, how to understand you? When I put myself in your shoes, then I understand what you are feeling, why you are feeling. Then openness. Like there are many people there, like the close-minded. Our religion, the great epics, all they say, let the knowledge come from all the places. You should be open, whether that may be a child, whether that may be a elder person. You have to be open. We have to be open for learning. Say, for example, a small child can teach you a lot. For you're preparing for civil service, you feel that this is a very, very difficult task. Do you know a child, like a newborn child, it tries minimum thousands of times to just turn around once. It tries more than 1,000 times. Maybe it may go for lakhs also to just sit. It tries thousands of times just to stand. So if you are open, you can learn many things from that. A child is trying thousands of times to just turn around. Just to speak one word, a child practices, uses for years, days. So if you take from that, civil service is also like that. You practice, you work hard, you repeat again and again, success will be yours. So you have to be open, knowledge by knowledge, openness by communicating the things. Until and unless you communicate with each other, you won't be understanding why they are doing what they are doing. There'll be gap. So it is said, like often, the best way to get things done or the best way to get the help is just ask. Because when you are communicating, you are telling what you want. If you don't communicate, how can, say, for example, a small child cries, then the mother understands, oh, the baby needs milk, water, or sometimes children start crying, small children, because they want to sleep. Then mother understands, now the baby has just eaten now, means it wants to sleep now. This is the sleeping time. See, these are the very, very low forms of communication. So communication is very, very important for tolerance. Then freedom of thought, conscious and beliefs. So once again, all these points are revolving around. If you don't have freedom of thought, conscious belief, all these things, there won't be tolerance, right? Moving forward, you can have tolerance by respect, acceptance, and appreciation of diversity. So when you are respecting, accepting, and appreciating others, you'll be having tolerance. Then what should be the extent of tolerance? Should we be tolerant to injustice, human right violation, or irrationality? Say, for example, I use the term cultural relativism. Cultural relativism. So, cultural relativism means seeing the aspects of a culture in its own setting. Say, for example, there is one culture which is involved in genocide. There is one culture which is involved in female infanticide, means after the birth. See, there was a article in the newspaper long before. There was a, like, in some of the Himalayan region, like Himachal Pradesh, nearly like around like more for from about more than 100 villages for the past 3 to 4 years, no single girl child was born. See, what was the thing? Means there was female infanticide, maybe. If you are not using rationality, you are acting irrationally. Can we use the concepts of tolerance here or ethnocentrism here when there is injustice inflicted upon? Say, for example, casteism, saying that in casteism we have got, like, gods have told that I am the superior, those kind of things. So you have to be doing these kind of things. No. So there is a limit for tolerance. When there is injustice, when there is human right violation, the concept of human right violation is very important. Human rights are the rights which an individual gets just because they are born as humans. A thief, a murderer, even they say a baby within the, like in the womb, not yet born, also has human rights. A person might have stealed, a person might have, like, he's an immigrant, he has broken the law, a illegal immigrant from Bangladesh, all have human rights. So whenever there is human right violation, whenever you are doing the things on irrational basis, you should not tolerate. So the extent of tolerance is very, very important here. Dear students, these are some of the things which are very important for you to have unity in diversity. Please connect all the things after you go home, like all the concepts what we have used, how they're interconnected. And also one important thing is you should have, you should be able to write one line about all these things as a definition. Once again, I reiterate, please don't try to mug up the definitions, but you should have all the things what are there in the definition. So you take out some of the word keywords and you have to write in your own word what I have come across. And even when I was a aspirant, I used to think like always getting a first rank. So I used to think like I'll mug up the things A to Z as it is so that I'll be getting good marks. It is not possible. Take for anything, for example, before we finish this book, we may be having minimum like maybe 100 definitions. Like that, it may be going to 1,000 or anything. Any definition, if you are trying to by hack, if you are trying to mug up, you are in the wrong direction. What all the toppers do is, even if they miss some points in a definition, it doesn't matter. If you are convening, if you are conveying the correct meaning of the things. So try to write in your own words. From Monday, I'll be giving some of the important things from which you can like evolve your comprehension, evolve your writing skills, your comprehension, your personality are the things which won't develop in a single day. They take a long time. History, reading geography, grasping the things may take little time. The personality which is tested in your ethics, in your interview, and even your essay, not only that, in all your mains papers, are the things which take very long time to develop. Say, for example, your attitude towards a woman, a girl, a beggar, a posh looking person. They won't change suddenly. Today you have got something, some value attached to that, some attitude towards that. Suddenly tomorrow you will be changed. No, it takes a very, very long time. So you have to start all these things by now itself. So these are some of the important things. Next is with respect to government. So here, with respect to government, it's a very, very important chapter. You should understand what is government, and you should understand what is governance. Here again, afterwards, you have to understand what is good governance. What is government? What is governance? What is good governance? My dear students, the concept of governance has become a buzzword. The concept of governance and good governance is the very latest thing in political science. It is just nearly 30 years old, but it is all encompassing. Wherever you go, they are using the term governance. They have stopped using the term like polity, government. They are not using these terms more often. They are using the term governance now. Let me just tell you the governance thing. Now we'll be discussing in depth with respect to the government later. Governance is everything related to the welfare of the people. I repeat, governance is everything related to the welfare of the people. Whatever you are doing, if it is increasing the welfare of the people, if it is making the life of the people good, then it becomes part of governance. Government is just an element in government. Government is just an element in governance. If this is your government, then governance is a very big thing. Governance includes the private organization. Governance includes the Civil society governance includes the non-governmental NGOs, not for profit organizations. Governance includes the multinational corporations, international organizations. Governance includes everything with respect to the things which are helping in the welfare of the people. A very, very crisp and very authentic thing. I have told you, governance refers to everything you do to increase the welfare of the people, well-being of the people. It may be anything, government, non-governmental, civil society. Government is one of the things. Government is an instrument we use. Governance is a process. So, my dear students, the take home is governance is a very, very broad concept, all encompassing concept in which we have got private organizations, NGOs, civil society, multinational organizations, international organizations, everything which is coming in the way or which is related to the welfare of the people. What all the things needed for the welfare of the people, all can be included in governance. In that, government is only a part. Okay. With this background, we'll take up what is government. We'll understand what is government, what are the elements in government. Government, we often say Modi government, we say Jagan government. Does that mean only executive? Does that mean to any branch of the thing what we have? Here, let me clarify one thing. Government includes all the three organs, your executive, legislature, and your judiciary. I repeat, judiciary is also part of governance. Judiciary is also, judiciary is also part of government. So government consists of three important things: executive, legislature, and judiciary. Along with that, you also have in India some constitutional bodies like your Controller and Auditor General of India, Election Commission. These also form the part of government. I repeat, government includes all the three organs: executive, legislature, and judiciary. There are some organs, some things like your Election Commission, which cannot be put into any of these things. Controller and Auditor General, where can we place this one? Can we place it in executive, legislature, or judiciary? No, they are independent constitutional bodies. So all these things are part of government and independent constitutional bodies. One important thing, anything which is mentioned in constitution is called constitutional body. I repeat, anything mentioned in constitution is constitutional body. Some people misunderstand, thinking that anything in constitution explaining the powers, duties, responsibilities is a constitutional body. No, if just mention, say for example, if Raghu is mentioned in constitution, then it becomes a thing related to constitution. So Raghu becomes a constitutional individual. If any mention, say for example, cabinet, just a mention of the word cabinet, then it becomes a constitutional thing. Right? With all these things, we'll start up our discussion on government. Before that, let us take a break for 15 minutes. We'll come back and join the session after 15 minutes exactly, and we'll understand the aspects of government in detail. right? I'll wind up the session here. We'll come back after 15 minutes.